All right, so the tone of this guitar I think is very bluegrass oriented. You get a lot of bass response, but a nice like sub kick when you hit that G note. But you also get the clarity and the detail of the mid to high strings, which I would think would help it cut through in a mix a little bit. Okay, so probably the thing I would change is the toner on the top. I do like a nice white top, or maybe even a thermo-cured look instead of this kind of yellow that sometimes happens with a vintage toner, even though I know that happens over time. But that's definitely what I would change for it, is it for it to be a little bit more white maybe. But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. The playability of this guitar to me is perfect. The action is astounding. I like it. The neck shape is great. It is a shorter scale, so you get those bends a little easier. So it's just super comfortable to play up and down the neck. Even up here, it's nice and low, but not buzzing. So yeah, I think this guitar definitely works for me. Like I said, the action is perfect right where I would set it. Even up here, it's nice and low. The neck shape's dang near perfect. I like that. The C profile that it has. And it's just kind of nice round tone here in like the top strings. And you get that nice round tone on there. So yeah, I would definitely add it to my collection.
Looks like a pretty standard D-28 or HD-28 overall. Although I can see and kind of feel the short scale. How does it sound to me? So it sounds to me like an HD-28. Nothing is particularly sticking out about this guitar that's wildly different than any other HD-28 I've played, other than we got the shorter scale, which does feel quite a bit different coming from a full scale. So we got 25-inch scale length instead of 25.5. So that's a little bit different. I personally never felt too hindered one way or the other on playing each one. But for those who have been looking for a HD-28 to have a shorter scale, I mean, this is it. Sounds great. So it's just as good quality of any 28 I've played. Yeah, feels good. Neck shape is good. Maybe I'm crazy. The neck feels a little different from a standard HD-28. I think the nut width is a little different. It's like, I think it's 1 23/32 instead of 1 3/4, which I think is just a touch smaller. I'm not good with fractions, but I think 1 23/32 is a little bit smaller than 1 3/4. That's really the only thing. It's hardly noticeable to me. I have different guitars with different nut widths and stuff, so I kind of just pick them up and play. But that would be one thing. Yeah. Yeah, style of music. Definitely, of course, a broken record here, but bluegrass music, country music, folk, Americana. Really, what I feel like is like I said, HD 28 short scale. Like if you want the strings to be a little bit floppier than the full tension, then that's kind of where we get to with this guy. And in some ways, that's kind of nice, right? But yeah, overall, my impressions of this are pretty great. It's a HD 28. Would I add one of these to my collection? Probably not, just because I do like full-scale dreadnoughts typically, but this is different, right? It's kind of cool. It's, if for somebody who's wanting a 14-fret short scale, this is pretty cool to have as an option. And what I think is an even cooler thing is that this isn't a ridiculously priced guitar. I think it's slightly more expensive than the standard HD 28, which for a signature Martin guitar, and this is a Billy Strings signature, that's not crazy. I think it's just a few $100s more. But for my personal taste and what I look for, I would probably like the full scale. But I think this is a nice change of pace, and it's cool to have a signature like this in our shop. I think it's neat.
Okay, so this is a bluegrass guitar. This is why they call it the Billy Strings, I suppose. I do like that they put the herringbone around it and kind of give it that appointment. That's been kind of one of my favorite things about the Martin HD series, so I'm glad that they did that. You definitely feel, for me, a little bit more comfortable just with the scale length or something. I mean, it just feels a little less Big Mac truckish than like a D-28 or an HD-28. So I think in some aspects it's a little more comfortable to play, a little more accessible for some players. So I think that's a plus on it. It definitely cuts. I mean, I can see where a bluegrass player is going to love the bite and the top end of this. A little less on the low end rumble that you get out of some of these, but I really like the satins anyways. But I like the high gloss. I like the HD. I think all the appointments make sense. The tuners are really cool. They feel really smooth. They just turn really smooth. They're kind of cool and vintagey in their casing and everything. These Grovers. So I was surprised. Usually. You get these old-looking tuners, and sometimes you wonder how smooth they're going to feel, but those are great. So yeah, I think overall my first impression is this is a good little bluegrass guitar. Definitely cutting. Doesn't have the low end that I would expect, but in a lot of aspects, I think that's what these players are going to want. You don't like it? I would love it in a satin, and that's just personal preference because I think that the Martin satins just stand out so much. I mean, yes, they're going to take away some of that kind of articulation and some of that compression, but yeah, I mean that's maybe just I would want, but yeah, that's about the only thing I can think of. I mean, if I was in a need for something along these lines, I mean, I think it's there. It is comfortable to play. I mean, I could see where I could definitely enjoy playing this guitar. I think ultimately, if I was to buy this, To tell you the truth, I would probably use this as a gigging guitar. It's really comfortable to play, and like I said, seems to be a little bit less vibration or whatnot. I mean, it's new, but I think this would be a great to put in a pickup on this and just take it out and play it every night. And who knows? Pretty soon it may actually look like Billy Strings' guitar.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, I'll do it again. It is very D-28-like, has a lot of bass to it, a little bright on the high end, but it's a good sounding guitar. I do not like the bone and black bridge pins. I know they're vintage, but I like the bone and tortoise bridge pins that they have out on their other HD-28s a little bit better. Feels like a Martin, feels great. I mean, they've got their neck sets down pat, everything plays and sounds like it's supposed to. It's set up really nicely. I'm comfortable with it. I probably wouldn't, but the only reason why is because I pretty much already own one of these, and I can't have two of the same thing. At least that's what my fiance tells me.
All right, it's the Billy Strings D-28. The tone of this guitar. So this is an interesting one because it is a HD-28, but there are a few differences. I do notice the short scale making for a little bit softer and more rounded tone. It doesn't have quite as much growl as what the standard HD-28s, the new version, because this is a new version, having the golden air bracing. In some ways, maybe that's creating a little bit more articulation in the mid-range, but it's also kind of a little bit more laid back. It's not quite in your face as the standard. So I think there's again, it's kind of more the Billy Strings type of sound. I can hear that, but it's definitely that traditional HD-28, D-28 Martin thing, just with a little bit of a twist on it. It's a D-28, so there's lots of styles it can suit, but obviously, if you're buying this, you're a Billy Strings fan. I don't know necessarily that this is going to be, an instrument that you just buy to create a different flavor. It's a slight modification to the D-28 sound and playability feel, but to me, it's going to be more of that bluegrass flat picker type of person. That's why you would look at a Billy Strings model. Does this guitar work for me? Of course it would work for me. I say that, but then again, I'm such a heavy right-handed player. The shorter scale, I'm so used to this being a 25.5 inch, I like the feel of that underneath my pick. Whereas the shorter scale guitars usually for me have a different sound. It's the slope shoulder dreads, the smaller bodies, and I play those differently. I guess it could be for me if I got used to it and adjusted to it, which obviously is capable of being done. I'm just like, if I put a Martin style dreadnought rosewood D-28 in my hands, this is how I want to play it, because that's what I have done for so many years. And I'd have to kind of change a little bit of my right hand. So yes and no. I mean, automatically, probably not out of the box, something that I would play. but I would adjust to it, and I guess it would create a different, slight different tone palette out of my standard rosewood dreads.